Ladies and gentlemen, Mackie here, and if you noticed, I am recording this on Thursday, June 26th at around 3:20 p.m. or 4:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is meaning that we are less than 24 hours away from the mid-season invitational. Baby, there is going to be a lot of storylines and personal betting that I'm going to do, not with money, but myself, things that are going to happen that that I need to cover and talk about. So today, on this another episode of Midseason Madness, we're going to be talking about the biggest storylines that are coming out from the league and some personal props that will we see happening, that numbers and all kind of stuff. So it's going to be like for me purposes. So we already covered the teams, the players, all the primers and all kind of stuff. But the storylines and pretty much some hot takes I might have is going to be happening. So the first storyline is pretty much easy. Can Gen.G dominate MSI? We know what Gen.G are capable of. They have dominated the LCK, although we should have a finals in the LCK, but we already beat that to a dead horse. And we all saw how great Trophy was. And trust me, Trophy is now becoming like an absolute god right now. That they are absolutely building churches of Jovi in their facility right now. The question remains, can Gen.G blow every single team out of the water and go on to win MSI? The answer is mostly yes. If they don't win MSI, it will be an absolute failure for them. But dominate MSI. Now, what do you mean by dominate MSI, Keith? 3-0s, probably 3-1s if they're going like one happy game, and of course. So I want to see them win 3-0, 3-0s, 3-0s. Clean as a whistle. All the way to the finals and probably 3-0 them. So I wanted to see Gen.G dominate every other team. Leave no crumbs in there. Beat that team up. Don't let up. Dominate throughout the entire map, up and down the floor, Rift Heralds, Grubs, Tower Domination, this kind of thing. Now, does it mean it's gonna happen? No, we're not gonna happen. And in this current iteration, perfect gaming is not gonna happen in this form of League of Legends. But consider the absolute nature of the rest of the teams that are in MSI. We don't know what T1's gonna be like there. Are they gonna be good and are they gonna be playoffs T1 or regular season T1? Anyone's legend is a complete unknown. The Western teams are not so hot except FlyQuest. And BLG is pretty much a mess right now. So I believe that I think Gen.G can win MSI. That is a known fact. The question is that can they 3-0 or 3-1 their way to a title? Maybe, maybe not. There's going to be some games that they have to, have some struggles, of course. You never know on a given day, on a given patch, of course. Seeing that we're playing a different patch, you just never know what will happen. And, Coach Kim, there's a little bit of rumor saying that Anyone's Legend is better than them, even though Anyone's Legend decided to say that back to saying Gen.G are better. And, listen, we don't know anything about it from scrim rumors and all kind of stuff. But I do know one thing. The way we have looked in LCK, the way Chovy has been brilliant in the mid lane. All signs are pointing to a Gen.G winning MSI. And but maybe this will be one of those absolute domination in the MSI tournament. Maybe this could be the first time we're going to see a team 3-0 their way to win an MSI in this current iteration of the bracket. Maybe, who knows? But dominate the MSI, I think that's going to be a little bit of a stretch. I think they could be good enough to win so many decent series, but I'm not sure it'll be like dominate 3-0s or 3-1s and that kind of stuff. But they will have like one kind of series to struggle. Maybe it'll be FlyQuest, of course, but who knows? Second storyline is the T1 tournament BS is showing. Now, of course, I wrote BS. You already know the words. I'm not going to spell it out for you. But I'm also going to spell it out this. They may be a word, that T1 could win the whole thing. And I know you're thinking to yourself, Akeem, this is just an exaggeration. You're drinking the faker copium juice. And even all my Redditors who actually, when I posted the team ranking, they were, well, let's just say somewhat delusional in some cases. And even my boy David, David S, call him David S, and Nymera, shout out to Nymera, who look at my post on X and saying that is a crazy take because I have T1 as my fifth best team. Maybe I'll look at my rankings. Let me just look at my rankings. I have T1 as my fifth best team. Yep, I have them on my fifth best team. And there are some people just saying, "Oh, you're betting against T1," and I was like, "Okay, sure, I'm delusional. Maybe I could have put G2 lower. Maybe I could put T1 a little higher." And yes, I know BLG is kind of like a little high for me because, of course, there have not been good performances, but it's the same kind of guys that can make you win. So I can understand the fan sentimental of like, maybe I should have put T1 and J2 higher. But my opinions, my list, go suck yourself. But there's a world that T1 might win this whole tournament. And it's the fact because of how they done in the Road to MSI tournament. Again, we should have a final, Akeem. We should have a final. But the way Duran had been playing, of course, in that tournament was impressive, especially the Mbessa, of course. We might see more Mbessa in this tournament, who knows? Carrier being absolutely probably the best support right now. His range of champions makes you want to feel like if you're going into the game and you see Carrier playing and you wanted to play that champion, your coaches or your friends are going to be like, "Oh man, stop being a troll. You're not that kind of guy. Play your engaged champions and all kinds of stuff. Play your boring support champs." Carrier is on another level. Now, the support champions are not great, but we know he could be cooking, especially international. And of course, we have to talk about Faker. Now, I believe, and let's be brutally honest, Faker has not been great in LCK this split. And hey, listen, for a guy who has been the longest ever 10-year League of Legends player ever, and to be so good for so many years that like half of people would have retired on the spot if they would have had the longevity and the success that Faker and T1 has. And we know what he's capable of when the chips are down. We saw it in game 5 of that World's Finals. That was all Faker. That was literally all Faker. He may not have the hands and the godlike domination that he was in the past, but he has the brains, he has the clutchness, he has the capability of, finding the big moments when it matters. To quote a NFL films, or to quote an NFL, filmmaker saying, "Great ones aren't always great. They're just great when they have to." And that is Faker and T1 in a nutshell. They are not great, but when it comes to the big moments and when it comes to these pressurized situations, they always find a way to win. It happens in MSI. It happens to the Road to MSI. It happens at Worlds the last 2 years. They have found a way to win, which makes my rankings of fifth place feel a little bit of a disrespect to some of the T1 fans, because everybody in the back of my brain is saying, "Are you kidding me, Akeem? You're putting T1 below G2 or BLG when everybody knows how good T1 is." And yeah, you know what? Yeah, I raise my hands up. Poor judgment on my part. And they may, and I think I know why. I believe the T1 BS of international tournaments could show up. Now, listen, MSI is different from Worlds, of course. But if the right patch and the right meta falls into place of T1, I don't care if Gen.G are the favorites. And the fact that these two have never met in a best of 5 match really hurts so much of the community that if we get this version in a grand final or maybe in one of those upper bracket matches, there may be a world that T1 could beat Gen.G. Call me a pacifist, call me a stupidio, or call me an idiot, but I'm going to call it right now. I believe that T1 can beat Gen.G in a best of 5 series. I know, it's a hot take. It's a really hot take. It's a spicy one. But there may be a world that might happen. And there may be a world that T1 could win MSI, and every single Korean fan base will say that Faker is great all along, even though he isn't. And there'll be so much misery on I Will Dominate's part or something. Oh my god, they just keep getting away with it every single time. Right, let's move on. And I believe that the next one and the next two will be like tied in together. This will be the fall of Europe. Listen, here's a kicker. I'm an LEC guy. Like, I didn't listen. I haven't watched the LEC in a long while. It's not because of like, oh, G2 just dominates the region and all kind of stuff. Part of it is kind of like the LEC has just not been the LEC that I used to like in terms of like creativity and the skits and the overall product that it puts in. It just feels dry. It just feels like, you know, a dry biscuit or something. Like no cream cheese, no butter, no nothing. It just felt like a dry. It just felt dry. And the broadcast has been, to the opinion of some of the League of Legends community, including Rich's Wrath, terrible. like in their eyes, it's terrible. And trust me, nobody wanted to watch Euphoria, although Euphoria has now been buried and dead a couple of years ago. They tried to do it with Medic and Broxa with the jungle, but even that's not going to work. So it almost had that feeling of like the way the LEC broadcast has been pictured for the last couple of years, including this year, is what mirrors the situation that we have for the LEC right now. Now, that doesn't mean that the LEC is bad right now. Carmen Corp, KC, Carmen Corp, Koi winning the titles. That shows that the European region is competitive, which is great. And is nationalized to some fan bases, and hopefully not toxic. But it's great. It's great. Competition is great. But the problem is for this MSI, the two teams that are sent, G2 have not looked like G2 4 like years ago. And the solo laners are just not covering themselves in glory. Caps is just switch off to craps in the worst way possible. Broken Blade has not been there, of course. So there's a part of me that might be thinking, okay, we know G2 doesn't have the best year so far, but when it comes to international tournaments, they always click. And we saw that from last year in MSI. We know what they're capable of. The problem is, Akeem, is that team have Yike and Mickey X. The problem is, Akeem, they don't have a Yike and Mickey X. They got Skewmon, who was okay, but I'm just not sure if he can make this team more functionable. And they got Labrov, who is an okay support, but he can kind of have one of those Intin moments, let's just say. So, for the first time in a long while, and every G2 fan is having that fear of like, we're the best team in all of LEC, we can never do wrong. It's like, look at your rivals, Fnatic. They are now in the same situation as you. They're not in a decline or anything like that, but they're into that feeling of like, we may never going to beat an Eastern team. You may have to beat BLG, of course, a pretty bad BLG team. But in terms of like making top 4, maybe top 5 or something, it may feel like this is going to be a stretch. It may be a stretch. Unless the bracket falls in your way, then I think we'll have a different conversation. But I do not have a good feeling about G2. Yes, I put him in 4th in my rankings, But there's a lot of community perception, and including myself, that made me feel like this may be G2's fall off in a worst way possible. He may not be good for Caps in any kind of way. The way his legacy has been so much cemented. Is this really how his career gonna end in 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 his entire LEC career? Is this how it ended? Huh. Hmm. We'll find out in a couple of days, of course. Starting tomorrow, of course, against Furia. Now, this ties in to the next storyline. FlyQuest to make history in a time that NA needs something. Now, let's just get this out of the way. The LTA has been an absolute disaster. I think we've already covered that so many times. I think David has covered this so many times. The LTA in terms of marketing is bad. The LTA in terms of competitiveness is bad. The LTA in terms of like perception around NA fans, it's so bad right now that they can't even say LTA with like LCS. Woo! LTA. Ugh. That's my feeling. And to cut the knees out of CB LOL, and to make it pretty badly, like LTA North subscribers are less than LTA South. You cannot even get to like 500 subscribers on your YouTube channel, even if you try. And right now, in a region that has like not so much in competitive league, especially with Clash being this bad, and the fact that we don't have like don't have players go on rank or solo queue most of the time, despite having all the population and all kinds of stuff, NA needs a team that can. I'm not saying they're going to help the region as much, but they just need a team to do so they can believe in. And I believe that FlyQuest are going to be that team to do it. They got the longevity, they got the play style to do it, they got some pretty good characters, including Inspire and Whippo, and they got a Canadian in Masu, well, born Iran, but came into Canada, but Canadian nonetheless. They have a team that I believe, for the first time ever in a long while, not since 2019, of course, not since 2019 MSI, or not since 2019, 2019 MSI with Team Liquid, that North America or NA or LTA, God knows what name it is, have never feel so much hope. And God damn it, they need hope. They need hope like oxygen. They need a team that you can just say, hey, you need to do something. You need to show up. We all know what they're capable of at Worlds. Of course, they got games against Honda Life Esports, and they got games against Gen.G. Sadly, they didn't win. And the only way, they did not win, but it gives them some hope that I feel like, yes, I believe that FlyQuest can do something. And if FlyQuest can manage to beat an Asian team, let's just say maybe anyone's a legend, or a BLG, a weakened BLG, but still BLG nonetheless with all these names. If they can somehow beat an Asian team and route to a top 4 finish, that is going to go a long way to making, like, the product is bad, but there is some potential with this product. If the problem is just the marketing is just bad. But for North America, they needed a team that can rally upon. I believe that FlyQuest can do it. Right. Anyone's Legends feeling the nerves. Now, Anyone's Legend, LPL champions. Great, magnificent. They got the greatest coach ever on Tabe. They got some decent good players. Flandre, Tarzan, Wordy champion. Shanks, Ho, KL. Those are some solid players, especially the support of KL, who has been so much talk about but never got noticed. So you're thinking to yourself, Akeem, oh my God, Anyone's Legends can win the whole thing. I already mentioned about it in my TikTok. I've already mentioned about it so many times. Anyone's Legends can win the whole thing. You're right. They could win the whole thing. But you forgot one thing, Akeem. Some of those players have never been to this situation. And you have to remember that you are not only carrying the weight of a team, you're carrying the weight of a region who has been notorious of winning LMSIs. Your RNGs, your EDGs of the world, those kind of teams. And they have never been to a situation before. What if anyone's legends go to like a game 4 or game 5? As great as Tabe's coaching has been, they might feel nervous. They might feel a little bit of a chink in the armor. What if they lose their first match against an A team? They might be feeling embarrassed, consider that China is a, let's just call it a toxic way of treating players. All I'm just saying is that anyone's legend could have those nervous feelings. The question is, can they handle themselves, and can they handle themselves towards winning the championship? I believe they can do it. It's going to be hard for them, but I think if there's any person who can do it, it's Tabe, and if there's any leader that can do it, it's Tarzan. And I hope this team can actually exceed all expectations. Well, not exceed all expectations, but exceeds themselves to make like a finals, of course. Do I believe they can beat Gen.G in the finals? Maybe not. But if they can make it to a finals and overcome those nerves, and as time goes on, they get better and better, then I think anyone's legend can do that. But for them to feel the nerves, of course, every team has to feel nerves. Every team is feeling nerves. It's a big stage, big tournament. It's now becoming a bigger tournament than many people expected years ago. And they're going to feel it. They're going to feel it winning the first match. Winning the first match on a different patch. It's a different patch, different atmosphere, different environment, different circumstances, different expectations. It's going to feel anyone's actually going to feel the nerves, pretty much so. Can they handle them, and can they win it all? Yes, but we're not sure until the first matches are played. CTBC Flying Oysters to finish top 4, maybe finals. Crazy hot take, but let me just explain. Let me just break it down to you. Europe are not looking hot, except FlyQuest, of course. But I don't know if FlyQuest can do well against the Asian teams. BLG are not like themselves. We'll find out, of course, in tomorrow. We'll find out if they're good enough. T1 can be dangerous in the playoffs, but we might see them in regular season form. And you can say that Gen.G are probably the only team that is capable of winning MSI, but because of the lack of best of 5 they have, again, no finals. Already beat the horse. That may come back to hurt them. So, there may be a world that the LCP, and yes, I know it's only CTBC, but it could be Gamma as well, could make a run to a top 4 finish. And I mean, that's a hot take, but I believe it's a believable one. They have the same players, of course, to make it the first stand. They have the same play style mentality. They got some belief in their players. And of course, they got that no fear mentality that could be dangerous to some of the teams. Because right now, and the kicker is big. LCP is no longer a minor region. Everybody's looking at LCP as like a minor region. Well, the problem is that LCP has now become a major region. So if GAM Esports beat BLG, is like, oh my god, an upset, a big upset, oh my goodness. Like, dude, they're part of the LCP is now part of our major region. It's no longer an upset. It's just the fan sentiment and the community sentiment of like, yes, yeah, that team won, but that big team suck, that kind of thing. And I just like, okay, cool. I can understand your sentiment. This has been the mechanism of League of Legends fans for years, in which like the coping mechanism of League of Legends fans. So let's call it, or that is that they always said small team didn't win, big team choke, kind of thing. To me, I said, I think CBDC is going to make it far. I think they can put some impressive victories over the LEC and over some LPL teams. And I do not think it'll be an upset. I think CTBC and the LCP should be taken more serious than any region that you can ever find. Consider the performances at MSI last year when PSG was this close to being BLG. Consider first stand, although it's a pretty Mickey Mouse tournament. I believe that what CTBC has done was impressive. And now, here they are, same team with the same roster, could, and I said could, make it all the way to like top 4. And if the bracket falls their way, they could make finals. If like big upsets happen and like, Gen.G loses to, let's call it FlyQuest, of course, they may be a world that CTBC could make the finals. It's wild, I guess, but it could happen. It could happen. Now, the last of the MSI storylines for this year is there's going to be some league drama. Like you know there's going to be some absolute drama is going to happen. Whether it's a bug or a big announcement by Riot Games or something, or there's going to be like some not going to do some pretty much chaotic stuff. There's always going to be drama. There's always going to be drama. Sickness, we already saw it from like Worlds 2022 when the Gen.G players got sick. MSI 2023 when the Yoya, when Razok flashed his prettiest smile when they got clapped by T1, and every Spanish fan kind of hated that. We saw like the announcement of LTA right at the middle of Worlds. So it's like, something crazy is going to happen to League during a big tournament. And I think it's going to happen. It's going to be something, and maybe it's not going to be something big, but it's going to have like a ripple effect across esports and probably mostly the League that's going to come out to MSI. We don't know what it is, and of course we don't know what it is. Maybe it will be related to the gambling news that I think David S posted on YouTube about gambling being now accessible to both Valorant and League. Maybe it might not happen, but who knows? There's going to be some big drama that's going to happen in League. And I'll tell you what, it will not shock me the slightest. Consider this as Riot. Anyways, that should conclude the MSI storylines. Let me just see how much time we have remaining. Okay, plenty of time. We have plenty of time to talk about my personal props. Now, speaking of gambling, there's going to be some sites, of course, that will play some bets about some teams and all kind of stuff. Just like drinking alcohol or just like drinking. And no, this is not me putting a gambling product or something. I'm not doing that. Just like with anything else, you have to please. And I said the word please in emphasis. Take these things responsibility. Take money that you can afford to lose into account. Be responsible. And if something bad happens, please do not go and abuse the players, okay? These players are like 18, 19, 20 years old, and they already get scrutinized in social media fronts. And, of course, when you add in betting, of course, that might turn that thing into 11. And it could be really toxic really fast. So, to all my people who want to like bet on this MSI tournament, please do that responsibly. And I hope you can have the knowledge to know when there's like, hey, that is too much. Stop it. It could hurt you. It could have bad ramifications. It could have criminal ramifications, of course. And could have like serious consequences to not only you, but also the players and the organization and the company itself. Now, the good news is they don't put the gambling sponsorship in the t-shirts and mostly on their games, which is like a decent good thing. But if you're going to bet on this tournament, please do so responsibly. Okay? Crazy things can happen to the league. Okay? Crazy things can happen to the league. Same thing with sports. Crazy things can happen. Okay? So please bet responsibly. And also, be safe out there. But we're not going to put money on anything like that. It's just going to be my personal props. My personal props. It's just going to be like, imagine if I have imaginary money, I will put all of these on the ticket and showcase what'll be like, what will happen in this MSI tournament. So let's just go over everything. Let's just say I'm gonna need 5 more silver scrapes. We're gonna need over 5 silver scrapes. And we're talking about MSI play-ins and, you know, at bracket stage. So over 5 silver scrapes. We might get more than 5 silver scrapes in this MSI tournament. It could happen, of course. And of course we're gonna touch on champions just a little bit. We're not gonna go that too much, but we're gonna touch on champions a little bit. Vi being picked over 70% of the time, and that will be happening because of Vi going to be pretty much important. Aatrox will get pick and ban rate under 60%. We know that Aatrox is going to be a pretty dominant champion, especially on the top lane. So we might get more picks. Pick and ban rate could be under 60%. Maybe it might not happen. I think it would go over 60%. Let's just go over 65%. Let me just change that a little bit. Yeah, over 65%. I think Aatrox is going to pick a lot during this tournament. Mostly Bwipo, mostly Broken Blade, but it's going to be picked mostly in top lane, especially with Fearless being going on. Now, we're going to go with under 4 Western wins over the Eastern bracket stage. So let's just go with a scenario is like, BLG will face off against Koi. Or, G2's all kind of stuff. I'm going to say that there'll be like less than 4 wins for the East for over like the LPL LCK in the bracket stage. I do not think it's gonna reach that number. I'm not if like FlyQuest managed to win a series against an ancient team, that might hurt my props. But at the same time, I wanted to be wrong. So I'm gonna go with less than 4 wins over the East over the bracket stage. Gen.G, and I'm gonna mention this for my storyline, Gen.G to drop less than 5 games en route to the title. Like, they cannot go like a 5-game series or kind of stuff or have to struggle. No, I want them to win 3-0s, 1 or 2 3-1s, and then dominate their way. So that's why I put in less than 5 games en route to the title. I think it might happen. I think considered the team they are. Yes, ball lanes are kind of weak, but I believe that, Gen.G could do this. I think Gen.G could absolutely dominate themselves. Less than 5 games? I think I might take that. At least 4 pentakills in MSI, 1 in mid lane. We haven't had much pentakills in MSI. It's been like maybe 2 years ago with a double pentakill of Gala and Kaiser, in which they have to redo them. Gala got a pentakill, and then they have to redo the matchup because of the bugs. Gala got a pentakill, so yeah, we haven't had much pentakills. We nearly have one in the LPL finals. Stupid hope. Took it away from Tarzan's moment. So I believe that it's going to happen. I think we might have 4 pentakills in MSI. But I added a little caveat. I want 1 in mid lane. I believe that someone in the mid lane is going to get a pentakill at MSI. I believe it's going to happen. Maybe it'll be Chovy. Maybe it might be surprisingly Faker. Maybe it'll be Caps. Who knows? But there's going to be like a pentakill in the mid lane for MSI. So that's why we get like 4 pentakills in MSI. Mostly ADCs, because why not? And hopefully like 1 in the mid lane. We may get under 7 Baron steals at MSI. Like, there's going to be a lot of Baron fights that is going to take down to 1 or 2 micro moments, and then steals, of course. So with the way the game has been looked and the way of early control has been happening, you may get some Baron. You may get some few Baron steals, of course, which is why I put under 7 Baron steals, which means we may get 7 Baron steals, but we may not get as much. Sorry, let me just retract that back. I think we might get less than 7 Baron steals, which means we're not going to get as crazy Baron steals as many other games are. So I think Baron steals are going to be like at a pretty much low. We're going to get 8 Elder Dragons being spawned. Oh, there's going to be some late game matches. There's going to be some really long late game matches, especially for like if you're Koi or you're like anyone's Legends facing off against Gam. The game might be long enough, or maybe Gam or maybe Furia might drag this game long. Who never knows? But if the game drags longer as they should be, there might be some Elder Dragons being spawned. And I said over 8 Elder Dragons being spawned during the MSI tournament. And a crazy one is C2BC to reach finals. I already did that in my storylines. It is crazy, but I believe some crazy dude who's going to put some hypothetical money on it could do that. And I think he could be right or could be wrong at the same time, but who knows? Those are the storylines and personal props I'm going to be doing for MSI. Now, now I'm just gonna, I don't know what I'm gonna do next. Now, all of this just say that it is we're closer to MSI, and that means matches are gonna be played, and all the storylines and all the drama will be laid out for the next couple of days, and that includes Pickems. Pickems are happening right now. It is less than a day before it's closed, but you better get your Pickems right now. You better get your Pickems before they're all closed, and you need to get them for some special prizes and all kind of stuff. And luckily for me, I did my Pickems just a couple of days ago to showcase the predictability, but pretty much some chaos that might happen. So, without further ado, here is my past self a couple of days ago talking to you about the play-ins and the Pickems and his incredible picks. Take it away, Maestro Mackie. Hello, Past Mackie here. Recording on this Saturday, June 21st, the first day of summer, 8:03 p.m. And welcome to the MSI Pickens Play-ins edition. Sadly, this is going to be a pretty short one. Now, in case everybody knows it, in about 5 days, the Play-in Pickems are going to be locked in, and you cannot do anything about it. So you're going to let the results be and pray to God for all of that League of Legends magic. If you get it right, you get some points, and it will go towards your prizes. Let me just show you the prizes before we go through. So this is the leaderboard. This is the community leaderboard. This is the play-ins and the playoff bracket, which is going to be the separate ones. And this is your score, and you can just share your Pickems with the rest of the world. You can also create a leaderboard. That's fun, but not into that one. So in case you haven't noticed, if you are perfect, you get all the ultimate skins. This is the Elementalist Lux, one of the most precious and most highly cost skins in all of Riot. The Gun Goddess, Misfortune, and its 12 or others. KDA All Out Seraphine, Pulse Fire Israel, Spirit Guardian Udyr, Soul Fighter Samira, DJ Sona, Lux, Misfortune, Seraphine Israel, all these other base skins. If you're in the top 500, you get a Splayer Blossom Hui himself, and the Esports Capsule. If you get to the top 25%, you get a Shady Master Yi, Esports Castle, and 2 more with the Esports Castle My Special Gift. And then if you're top 50%, you got the Special Gift and the Esports Capsule. And if you participate, you can get the sell-in, which is the NAR Super NAR sell-in wrestling kind of thing. And then if you're making picks in the playoffs, you get an Esports Capsule. So even if you don't achieve those bundles, by participating, you get one of these two. So you can't lose. So that's where all the Pickens at. I will link this thing in the description below with the Pickens to find out if you can find it. But you have to do it in the next 5 days, guys. You have to do it before the 26th of June, before the play-in starts. So I'm going to keep that in mind. This is going to be a pretty short one. Cut and dry, nothing too stressful. In case you haven't noticed, these are the 4 teams: G2, Furia, BLG, and GAM. And then you got to place it in which order. Like the team that finished 2-0, 2-1, 1-2, and 0-2. Pretty much basically simple. So I'm going to put Furia for 0-2. Pretty much simple, no cut and dry. Pretty much the lowest team, of course, based on how I did my rankings. The team is pretty much unknown and vibesy and all kinds of stuff. If they manage to win a game, that's a miracle unto itself. If they win a game, of course, they gotta face G2, and they have to face either BLG or GAM, and it has to be even harder, of course. So unless Dinkar can absolutely pull off something, that will be like a miracle. But I think it's gonna be, I think Furia is going to go 0-2 and pretty much 10th. For my third place team, I'm gonna go with GAM. Now I know what you're thinking. Okay, BLG GAM, who's gonna be? Yes, I know BLG has not been performing well. GAM will have to beat BLG to even blow my mind. If they beat BLG, that will blow my mind even more. Now, the only way you have to do that is that Levi Artemis have to pop off incredibly in a best of 5 series. Now, you can say only what about BLG's shortcomings and all the situation with the coaching and everything, but I have to feel like Gamma gonna be like a 1 and 2 team. They're going to probably lose to BLG, pretty much a close series. They're gonna beat Furia, of course, and then they have to like pick a poison with G2 and BLG again. Now, do I believe that they can at least beat G2 and BLG at least once or twice? I don't think so. But it'll be fun. It'll be fun to prove me wrong. So I have GAM Esports on my 1 and 2 team. Now, 2-0 and 2-1 team. That will be a hard one. Both of these teams are great, but both of these teams are so flawed. It's like they have the talent to win every game, but they have like the inconsistencies and the fallacies that makes you feel like I just don't trust them. But remember, this is a play-in, Zeki. All best of 5. This is just against the not so great teams. And remember, it's going to be like who's going to be 1 and 2. Now, G2 are fine. They're a fine team, but Cavs has not performed well. Broken Blade is not going well. We don't know what Skuma is going to be like. Labrov can be like a decent, good player, but then he kind of ends sometimes. Hatsama has been a really constant performer. And with Rise coming back in the game, Twisted Fate, and probably, I believe, Twisted Fate. Oh, no, not Zoe. Not Zoe. Okay, so it's probably, I think I say Twisted Fate or Rise. I haven't checked the patch notes yet. But with these mid lane champions coming into the pool just as much, it might make Caps a little more agency. We have seen Caps die too many times in crucial situations. Now he could be a decent player. We all seen him in natural players, in the natural play, but his domestic performance have been left so much, down. So I believe he can bounce back from a natural tournament. For BLG, I mean the same thing. Ben has not performed well. Knight has been the only good bright spot. On and Elk has not been great, and Bejuan has been like a steady hand to make sure the team is not inting as much. He is the reason why BLG made the finals, but he's not like the over big reason that they made the finals. They just make him because he's like, don't be Way and don't be an Inter. That's pretty much it. So BLG are kind of like, they're fine, but they're just not as good enough to like top them. And I rank them as around like the 4th and 5th and 6th range. So it's gonna be really difficult. It's going to be pretty difficult. Now, I think both of these teams will take care of the rest. It's gonna come down. So G2 should beat Furia easily. BLG should have a struggle against GAM, but also beat them. So it comes down to G2 versus BLG. Now, the last 2 years, BLG versus G2 has faced off, and that's for Worlds, of course. It was BLG that eliminated G2. Now, by historical purposes, BLG should beat G2. Pretty simple. But because of how bad and inconsistent these two teams are, we just don't know if they're good enough. My Western hearts might say G2 because I think they could be fine, but I think BLG have enough quality themselves to make it through to the bracket and advance to the next round. Yeah, so I think BLG by the way. I mean, I hope that Ben can perform well, and we all see how Knight is done. We don't. I mean, G2 can actually do well in the draft and department, but they just cannot. If their early game is not doing well, they cannot even sustain it in the mid game. And I think in a head-to-head matchup, historical performances, I think BLG can overcome G2. It should be a close series, of course. But I have BLG as my 2-0 team, G2 2-1, GAM 1-2, Furia 0-2. I guess that's pretty much simple. So with that, that is my pick'ems for the Play-ins tournament. As you all know, you can go to the description and they can find the play-in version of theirs, of course, with the prizes and all the kind of stuff. And then you got a couple of days or a couple of hours. You can see 5 days until the pickings are closed. And prizes are galore, points being made, and you can make it up into the global list or create a leaderboard, of course, to make fun with your friends. Who knows? But MSI is going to be fun with these pick'ems and all that kind of stuff. And I hope you have fun too. Okay, back to future Mackie in a couple. Back. Let me ramble my words. And back to Mackie from like. Sorry. Let me just. And now back to Akeem in the future. Thank you, past Mackie. And now I believe that should do it. Like, listen, I know you want me to say that, Akeem, what about the champions picks and all kind of stuff? And listen, that is a that thing is way too complicated for me, a little slightly autistic person, to even handle that. So I am not sure the champion selections are going to be. I'm more of a narrative guy. I'm going to talk about storylines and all kind of stuff. The story about Kaya is amazing. Of course, you should read. You can find the storyline and find it. It's incredible. So that's gonna be that's just me, man. The narrative guy. Talking narrative, storylines, and all kind of stuff. The champions, the play styles, and all kind of stuff. That's for the psychedelic portals and your Nymeras of the world to talk about. I'm just here to tell you stories and giving my 2 cents. That's the way it goes. So tomorrow, the mid-season invitational begins. Maybe later on tonight, I'll be probably recording a video talking about the predictions of the matches. It's not gonna be that much. It's gonna be like cut and dry those matches. Maybe a sprinkle of upsets, but I'll be recording the video maybe tonight, and then you're probably gonna see it tomorrow before MSI gonna happen, based on my predictions. And to all my people, to all my League of Legends people, I wish you all the good luck watching, streaming, hosting a watch party with friends. I will be away in a couple of days, of course. So I may not gonna get to see some of the matches, but I'll be probably gonna watch the Fridays ones. And maybe the Saturday ones will be out of there. But regardless, thank you all for watching. If you love the videos that I've done with the MSIs and all the League of Legends stuff, like, subscribe, and comment. And please, we want 10 likes on the perks video so that I can do a part 2 in perks. Come on, people. Where are my people? I put out some pretty good storylines and some stats, but no likes or comments so far. Like, what are you doing? Like, I'm not doing this to like monetization, although everything is monetization these days. I'm doing it because I want to give him some flowers, of course. So, yeah, that should conclude this mid-season madness preview extravaganza. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the real games to begin. Thank you, everybody, for watching and all kinds of stuff. I will see you all later. Peace and love to one and all. And goodbye.